Welcome everybody to the first of 12 Reinvent webinars that are designed specifically for childcare center leaders just like yourself. So my goal is to help you reinvent how you approach various things in your childcare business so that you have a better way forward in 2019 and as you continue in the years ahead. So today, we're specifically going to focus on your mindset, because if you're anything like me, your mind plays a lot of tricks on you, and it can really make you either move forward or it could really hold you back. So I thought, what a great topic to start off the new year with than mindset. The other topics that we're going to talk about over the next 11 months include reinventing your day. So we're going to talk specifically about, your desk and how your desk can really control your everyday. We're going to get into culture. We even have a marketing presentation. We're going to talk about reinventing your leadership, reinventing your workforce, your meetings, being tour ready, reinventing what advantage you have in comparison to your competitors, and reinventing your profits, your employees, and finally, we're going to close the entire 12 months off with some reinvent strategies that we learned throughout the course of the 11 months prior. So I want to encourage you to set aside 30 minutes a month to experience the entire reinvention process. So again, there's a question and answer option, or you can chat. If I don't get to all your questions during the webinar, I am going to send out a message to everybody after the fact, and I will answer everyone's questions then. So, and for those who don't know, you do have a chance to win free lunch over our webinar. And what we do is a couple days prior to the webinar, we will randomly choose one person that's attending, and we will spend up to $50 to feed you and your team while you watch our webinar. So how cool is that? All right, so we only have 30 minutes. Let's get started. So here's me. For those of you who don't know me, which I believe most of you do, I'm Caroline Jens, the founder of Childcare Biz Help, and I started this business just over 2 years ago. And prior to Childcare Biz Help, I was an executive director for a multi-location childcare center here in Wisconsin. So I did that for around 6 to 7 years. And about 2 years ago, I was able to leave that position and start Childcare Biz Help. And now I travel all over the United States, working with childcare centers in my program called Meet Another You. And so if you haven't heard about it, it's amazing, but I'll talk about that at the end because I don't want to interrupt your training. So let's get started. So what is Reinvent all about? So when we were planning as a team this year, the word reinvent kept popping back up into our conversations. And so I believe it really stemmed from the fact that a lot of the childcare centers that we work with do amazing things. Oftentimes, if they would just tweak a little bit or focus just a little bit differently on what they're doing really good, they can be doing things great. And so there could be such a significant impact to their business if they just slightly reinvented what they were doing. So that's really kind of how the reinvent topic came about. So the goal for this series is to help bring you change and influence not only to your childcare center, but I really want to be able to touch you personally. I know that you're signing up for a childcare webinar, but I really want to impact your personal life and give you some tools that you can use throughout these 12 months to help you both at your desk, at your childcare center, and at your home. So when you reinvent yourself, part of what you're doing is you're leveraging, again, what you do really well, and you just adjust it slightly. So this is what's really cool. Just by doing some slight changes, we can have huge results. So the reinvention, this reinvention is really the driver behind powering up your energy. This powered up energy is going to allow you to do more things. You're going to get re-energized. You're going to be able to focus more. You're going to perform better. So all this renewed energy is going to allow you to get things done. And so the end result, why reinvent? The end result is you're going to have more innovation. You're going to find out ways to be more competitive. You're going to experience more profits. You're going to feel more fulfilled. And hopefully your staff and your families are going to feel more engaged. So now that you understand the reinvent concept of leveraging those small adjustments to focus ourselves, our objectives today are going to be to learn how to reinvent our mindset and stop placing those horrible limitations we always seem to place on ourselves. And if you're anything like me, we often can place those limitations on our staff too. We don't mean to do it, but a lot of times I can hear us saying, well, they're really not equipped to do it, so, maybe we can kind of do a workaround. So we're immediately placing limitations on those people that really could possibly just use a slight more coaching or maybe a better tool, and then they would be able to do it. So a little personal story about myself so you kind of understand why this topic is so near and dear to my heart. But I would assume, like most of you who are attending today, you probably experience a lot of negative thoughts throughout the course of your day. A lot of things, I know if you're like me, you can get discouraged pretty easy because you're going to talk yourself out of a lot of really great things that could be going on in your work life and in your personal life, but your mind takes over. And so, usually by the end of the day, I can often let my mind take over, and what I intended my day to be like completely gets out of whack, and I end up totally not in the spot I needed to be for the day because I let my mind convince me that I either wasn't worthy or that I didn't have the skills, I didn't have the time. I became my worst enemy. And so I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of it's very easy to teach, but when you have to live it every day, that's very different. So I am the one that generally holds myself back. And I would imagine you're probably in the same situation. So I'm the one that can sidetrack me. So today, let's quit entertaining those thoughts and go on a journey together to where we can have a focused mindset, and so that we can live out our day the way that we intended. And we're going to do this. How we're going to work together today is we're going to learn how to conquer the battles that go on in our mind, and we're going to learn how to refocus our energy. So when you combine that focused mindset, that's when you really have a ridiculous effect. And that's when you're unstoppable. And so I know that sounds like a lot of information in a very short period of time, but we're going to get through it. So what is the problem with our mind? And what is really going on in there that hinders us? It would be scary, really scary to look inside my brain. But what really is what hinders us is that we doubt ourselves and we doubt our team. That doubt is going to really, again, prohibit you from achieving what you need to achieve. We often place limitations on our abilities. So before I even got in this webinar today, I was already doubting myself. I kept telling myself that people aren't going to understand what I'm talking about. How am I going to be able to do this in 30 minutes? It's not the same when you're talking to a camera versus being face-to-face with someone. So there's all these limitations we place on our abilities that we really need to stop doing. There's that fear of the unknown. So there's a lot of anxiety and doubt that comes from when we play those things in our head about the different types of things that could happen every day. For instance, on Sunday nights, you're probably fearing the fact that 10 of your teachers are going to call out on Monday morning. What are those fears that you're juggling every day? And then those fears of expectations, not only that others place on us, but the ones that we place on ourselves. Are we living up to those expectations? And then if we feel we don't compare to others, we need to quit looking around at everyone. We need to quit looking at other people and comparing ourselves. And concentrate just on ourselves and on our abilities. I just want to pause for a minute. I had someone that asked a question about if they have two people in one location, do we need to both be on different computers? You can be on as many computers as you want. So go ahead and you should be able to log in from any computer. And then finally, the final issue with our minds is that a lot of times, if you're like me and you're a leader in your organization, it can be lonely. So we oftentimes get consumed inside of our minds and how alone that we feel. So a lot of times this can cause us to get really isolated and overwhelmed. And I was actually just talking to one of my clients before this webinar, and she really had kind of a great insight. And what she did, because she was getting really overwhelmed in what was going on in her business, and she decided, you know what, we need to step away and let's go help someone else. Because oftentimes, if we go help someone else, work through their problems and work through their situations, it allows us time out of our head. And I just want to thank Jen for, that little story today. But if you're feeling alone or if you're feeling overwhelmed, I suggest take some time, go help someone else out, because it's probably going to make you feel a lot better, and it will get you, like I said, out of the anxiety and stress that you're feeling in your head. So secondly, there's a problem with how we focus our energy too. So it's not only what's going on in your brain, but it's where you focus your time. And so we often fill our day with time wasters. When we get overwhelmed, you might gravitate towards stuff that's really easy to do. I call them time wasters. Or we let other people kind of infiltrate our time. They pull us away. They're having us do things that maybe we shouldn't be doing. So those time wasters are really energy suckers, where we should be focusing our energy elsewhere. We get pulled in 4,000 different directions. If you don't know childcare, it's hard to explain to other people how many directions that you get pulled to in a single day. Until you're sitting at the helm of a childcare center, you don't understand the thousands and thousands and thousands of different situations that we experience on a day-to-day basis. But somehow we need to learn how to create order in that chaos. And a lot of times we approach our days and our weeks and our months and our years without a clear plan. And so because we don't have a focused plan, that will definitely cause us to kind of veer to places that we don't need to be. So we need to make sure we have a clear plan. And then we drain ourselves because we work outside of our comfort zone. So a lot of times we could be delegating tasks, but instead we end up doing them. And maybe it's not a skill set that we necessarily are strong in. A lot of leaders are generally visionaries. And so if we're stuck in the day-to-day tasks, it can be a little uncomfortable because our brains don't necessarily think in that kind of area. So look at what you're doing. Are you draining yourself because you're working outside your comfort zone? And are there other people that you could be delegating to? And then finally, the last problem with how we focus our energy is a lot of times we can focus on others instead of our problems, because it might be easier to help someone else through a situation. So if we're focusing too much on other people, rather than what is on our plate, that can cause issues too. So again, with our mind and with our focus, we need to kind of figure out how to bypass those problems and come up with some solutions. So what is the effect? If we constantly have the wrong mindset and we're constantly focusing on the wrong things, what's going to happen? We're gonna miss reaching some really critical goals that we had set, right? We're going to disappoint ourselves and our team, because our team is looking for us to get results. And if we're not in the right mindset and if we're not focusing on the right things, then we're going to disappoint some people. We're going to burn out. Burnout is a real thing, especially in childcare. And so if we're spinning our wheels, doing the wrong things, looking at the wrong stuff, we're going to burn out. And then finally, the worst thing I think is we're going to get discouraged and we're going to stop trying. You know, it's one thing to try and fail, because failing is actually good because we're going to learn from it. But the worst thing you could do is get so discouraged because you're not making progress or because you're doubting yourself, and then you just stop trying. So our inability to focus and this inward mindset is going to cause us to miss out on life, both at a personal and a professional level. We get too consumed in our heads about a situation or about a fear that could potentially come our way that it's going to stop us dead in our tracks. So we've got to believe that we can change that type of thinking. So let's dive into some solutions. I came up with these 4 steps. They're pretty easy. And I think once you organize them, you're going to find that it's just about getting organized and committed. And you should start to see some really good changes in your mindset. So commit, identify, clarify, adjust, and let go. So let's dive into what each of those mean. Commit, identify, clarify, adjust, and let go. So when you commit, I'm going to ask you today to commit to 3 goals that you want to accomplish this year. So we're going to do 3 personal goals and 3 professional goals. Again, that's six goals total. You don't have to do 6. You know, maybe you just want to start with 1 goal each. That's up to you. But bottom line, I want you to commit to some specific goal that you want to do personally and professionally. And I'm going to send you a worksheet that you're going to be able to actually write this stuff on. So for now, if anything comes to your brain, just go ahead and jot it down. For each goal that you identify, we're going to learn to identify real specifics on how both your mind and your level of focus will limit you from hitting your goal. So we're going to identify specifically what it is that could prohibit you from hitting that goal. So the reason you do that is so that we can come up with a solution. So a lot of times you might have a goal, but you're going to doubt your confidence, you're going to doubt your abilities, you're going to doubt your team. So let's identify what that is that's causing you to not potentially hit your goal. And then the third step is we're going to clarify specifically what your reinvented mindset and focus needs to look like in order to achieve those goals. So, for example, your mindset needs to be determined. Your focus needs to maybe be on baby steps. Or maybe you just need to believe that the changes you're going to put in place are going to stick. So those are some real clarity that you need to have in your goals, real clear ways that you can think. So the final step is to adjust and let go. Once you know what could hinder you, and then once you identify and clarify how you need to be thinking, then we're going to talk about how do you adjust along the way. What is that minor adjustment that's going to allow you to experience wins this year? Let's let go of habits. Let's let go of routines. Let's let go of roles and responsibilities that are keeping you from being your best self. Those are those minor adjustments that are going to get you from writing a goal down to actually making it happen. So I came up with this tool. It looks a little crazy, and we're going to go over it, but it really talks about the 4 different steps that I had mentioned. And so I've got this neat little handy-dandy pen that I can draw on here. So the first, again, is to commit. So we're going to write down 3 goals, and then we're going to identify what is today's mindset and what is your focus today for each of those goals. And then we're going to clarify what does that reinvented mindset look like? What does that reinvented focus look like? And then we're going to take you from here to here and talk about the little minor adjustments that you need to make along the way. And this may sound confusing. It'll make more sense once I give you my example coming up. All right. So here's my first example. This is a business. This is a business goal. And you can see my top 3 goals that I want to do this year. And I would imagine a lot of you are probably have the same goals. You want to retain more staff, because that's going to eliminate all those major headaches that you experience. You want to change your center culture, and maybe you want to expand to another location. So those are 3 pretty hefty business goals, don't you think? And so we're going to start with goal number 1. And that is, bear with me, my highlighter just disappeared. All right. If you're thinking about your mindset today and how you feel about retaining your staff, you might be thinking this very thing. You might believe that my staff isn't committed, or that they just don't want to work here. So that might be what your mindset is today when you think about that goal of retaining staff. You know, you're doubting the fact that your staff even want to work there. You're doubting the fact that people want to work for your company. What is the mindset that you need to have in order to retain more staff? Let's go over here. We need to believe not only do I have the staff that are committed, but I need to believe that my center is the destination that people want to work. That is the mindset I have to tell myself. And I have a real example of this, of someone that is using this today. One of my clients is 100% dedicated to making sure that his staff loves working for them. And he's got a mission. Everyone in that organization knows before they're even hired that he wants everyone in their company to love working for him. And so he has come up with this mindset of praise. And he wants to make sure, as the owner of the organization, and that all of his leaders think the exact same way as him, that praise is a critical part of their organization. And so he has ingrained a mindset in himself and in his team that everything they do has to revolve around praise and recognition. And so, as you can see, if he were to spend his time over here in today's mindset, where doubting his staff, you're never going to get to the place where you actually achieve that goal to retain staff. Hopefully that makes sense. So what are some minor adjustments? If you're thinking this way today, that you believe your staff isn't committed or that they don't want to work here, how do you get yourself to actually believe that they do want to be there? So the first thing to get your mindset on the right wavelength is just appreciate what you have. You know, I bet you there are a number of really great staff that you have, and if you just learn to take a moment and appreciate the people that you have on your team, that's step one. And recognizing the talents that you have in the team that you currently have employed. There are going to be toxic people. Get rid of them. And I know that's easier said than done, but identify the great staff, appreciate the ones that you have, get rid of the toxic ones, and put a retention plan in place. Right there, have the mindset that you're going to turn this place around. You're going to be the destination where people want to work, and that's how you're going to do it. So your second goal, and I got to move along because we're already running out of time. I didn't think that 30 minutes was going to be enough. But so secondly, the second goal is, bear with me, I just lost my mouse again. Okay. So our second goal of changing our center culture, what would today's mindset be? A lot of you might think, our culture, it's never going to change. You know, we've always tried to make a change, but it's never going to change. But instead, we need to have this mindset that we believe our culture is going to change. It's going to take one day at a time, but we 100% believe it. And what are the baby steps that we can do? Well, we can start implementing, just simply implementing. Take those baby steps, start implementing a vision, start coming up with some ideas, and you're going to get to the point where you're changing your center culture, but it's all in the mindset and not getting overwhelmed by the fact that it has to change overnight. It's going to take some time. And then finally, expanding to another location. That's my third goal. Well, today I'm possibly telling myself I don't have the abilities to do this, or I'm not capable of something like that. I'm never going to be able to do this. But instead, if I tell myself, I've already done some pretty amazing things. You know, I have the intelligence, I have the resources, I have the drive. I just need to start there. And then the minor adjustments that I can make are get support, find a coach, a mentor, a business group. You know, I would recommend myself, but I'm not here just to sell myself. Find someone that can encourage you and keep you uplifted, because that's really important. That's the only way that we're going to be able to get through and do the things that we know we want to do, but we get so stuck in our heads. So this one is your focus. So in the prior slide, this was your mindset. Now let's talk about our focus really quick. So again, the same 3 goals: retaining more staff, changing our center culture, expanding to another location. If we're focusing on all the spots that we have to fill and the large turnover, we're going to get stuck, we're going to get overwhelmed, and we're not going to be able to really address what needs to get done in order to retain those staff. Instead, we need to focus on being the employer that people want to work for. Think about how I can impact my current team positively and empower and engage them. Because if I'm focusing on my current team and how to uplift them and how to make them the best that they can be, we're going to retain more staff. So what are the adjustments that we need to make in order to do that? Know who you want to be. Just simply know the type of employer that you want to be. What are the qualities of a top employer that you want to represent? And then what are some really real ways that you can impact your team? Write them down on paper. Secondly, to change our center culture, oftentimes we focus, like I said, we focus on those energy suckers, or we're focusing on putting out fires all the time. And we spend too much time focusing on that instead of focusing on our top performers. Focus on those, your sweet spot, I call it. Those people that you really should be investing your time on. Focus on them to help you build up your center and your center culture. And how do you do that? You quit enabling, you quit getting sucked in. Don't let them suck you in. Stand firm on your objectives and don't be a pushover. Finally, to expand to another location, you might be focusing on all the wrong reasons on why you're not qualified to grow your business. I'm actually working with someone right now. They were working too much in their business, too much task stuff. Their focus was not in the right place. But when we shifted her mindset to work on her business, her energy and passion just exploded. And she is right in the process, as of today, getting her licensing for her new center that she's going to be opening. And it's all because of a shift in her mindset. It was that minor adjustment of getting confidence in herself, getting training, and delegating. She had to delegate what was currently on her desk that she was working on in order to free up her time so that she could grow her business. So I hope that makes sense. And I know I'm running through this pretty fast, but I would love to be able to, if you want a one-on-one call on how to complete this, or you want some encouragement on how to complete this, I'm definitely available, and I'll give you my contact information at the end. So what reinvention is not. Reinvention is not a quick fix, like I mentioned before. It's taking us years and years and years to get the way we are. So we're not going to change overnight. So remember that you're not always going to see immediate results. We need to just take baby steps and keep sticking with it. But I want to encourage you, because what reinvention is, it's transformative. It affects not only your emotional state, your professional, it also affects your physical. And I know if you're like me, if you're doubting or if you're stressed or if you're overwhelmed, if you're constantly in your brain, you are feeling the physical effects. And so reinvention is meant to help you grow physically, let some stuff go, and start approaching your day with a new perspective. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I want to be able to dive into new opportunities and not be limited. You know, this includes my personal life. I want to be able to transform my mindset and my focus to believe that I can make some severe adjustments in my life. It could be that I just want to be happy. You know, it's hard to think about being happy when it's 40 below zero outside. You know, what is it that we can do in our minds to make us happy even when it's 40 below zero? Well, one thing is doing what you love, right? Getting yourself surrounded by the right people, changing that mindset, and changing your focus. So you need to love yourself, love your attitude, and love the little things in life. So some action items before we leave. I want you to get committed by doing something immediately. So first, be authentic. You know, find what works for you and be you. Don't constantly look at other people and compare yourself to them. Be unique, and be yourself. Stop making excuses and let go of negative feelings. You know, get the excuses out the door. Dive. So this is my word for the year. I want to be able to get out of the shallow end, quit limiting my beliefs that are only available in the shallow end, and I'm going to dive into deeper areas so that I have exposure to more things in my life. You know, if you're safe in that shallow end, you're never going to be able to experience what is meant to be in your life. And so dive. That is my suggestion this year. And then have clear vision. You have to have a clear vision. You have to be writing stuff down, which is why I have the worksheet. Believe in yourself. Embrace the new reinvented you. Start telling yourself that you are reinvented. You don't have to wait for the 12 months to go by of watching these. You're already reinvented. You started today. So believe it. Don't doubt. You know, doubt and fear are bad words. Get rid of them. Get them out of your brain. And then how do you do that? Always be learning and always be adjusting. You have to look at your day and how you're doing things and always try to adjust them to be a little bit better and always be learning and getting coaching and support. Very important. So my free gift to you, I believe, and I hope that this session recorded. And if it did, I will share it with you. And then I also have the PDF worksheet of the tool that I was working on that showed your mindset and your focus and how you could get from here to there. And then I will also be sending you a survey because I really want your feedback. It's trying to combine everything in the 30 minutes is really difficult, but I know that you have crazy lives at your center. So I really want to try to do what I can in 30 minutes, but I want you to find it valuable. So please give me your feedback in the survey. And then here's my contact information. So if you have any questions or concerns, you just want to run something past me, feel free to email me. There's my cell phone. And right here is my cell phone. You can text me, call me. Here's my email. Here's our next webinar. It's on Reinvent Your Day. And so it's about how not to be controlled by your desk. And then this is my awesome, amazing team. So if you're looking for some support, you know, we would love to work with you. And again, I'm not here to sell to you, but you know, sometimes it just takes someone to help you out. And we're here. We all come from childcare. We've all been in your shoes. And so just a shout out to my gals, Justina and Crystal, for working with me, because they are truly part of the reason why I have such a great mindset and a focus is because of these gals. So put the right people in your life, and you'll definitely see some changes. So thank you everyone for coming. I totally appreciate that you spent the time, and I'm sorry about the sound, and I'll do my best to make it better next time. And I look forward to next month. Thank you, guys.